So let's talk about the future. How has, for example, the financial crisis affected the way banks have to manage such topics going forward?
I'm not a futurologist, to start off with, but I would think if we in this room put together lists of sustainability topics, we'd probably come up with very similar lists of topics. And I think if we did the same exercise in 10 years' time, the lists wouldn't change much. And I think, if you take the key examples, whether it's climate change, scarcity of resources, including water, demographic change, I'm sure we'll come up with the same things in 10 years' time. What the financial crisis has shown, I think, is the, to use a grand term, the interconnectivity of all of this. And I think the people that are clever and that really want to get prepared for the future do understand, that you can't separate these things.
Actually, I would like to ask back. I mean, this was the reason why we have chosen you. Can you maybe give me a little bit more information about how you're going to ensure the quality and the coverage going forward? So the capacity in place and what your plans are.
A pleasure. So capacity is about two things. The first part is identifying potential controversies associated with companies which in turn are potentially clients or business partners of UBS. And this is very much related to artificial intelligence, having the right tools in place that do all this coverage in these 13 languages. So that's one thing, the technical part. But equally important is the human intelligence. So we have then specialists that first make sure that we identify all the corresponding controversies, news, facts about such risks you mentioned, but then also analyze them and make sure that they are linked to the right entities such as companies, but also projects if you think of dams, etc.
How is RepRisk going to cover those emerging markets going forward?
We are currently investigating possible locations for a new hub based in the Asia-Pacific region, where we could actually source operational analysts to actually cover a number of different languages.
Do people understand that you need local presence and that you need to have people who understand the language? Because if you don't understand the language, you don't understand the news. You can't translate it into what is relevant from our perspective.
Well, also from the controversial aspect of censorship in certain countries. How do you get, the sort of straightforward media monitoring that you may be able to do in a country like Switzerland, and you get a pretty diverse range of views. How do you do that in certain places of this world where, if you go to the official sources, they might just tell you the same?
One way to tackle this is actually to have analysts based in different countries, but also to review similar kind of sources within the actual country. So let's say, for example, there is maybe an NGO site that's actually present in China, and within China you can't actually access this source. But if you're accessing from, let's say, within Switzerland, then it's actually possible to actually see what's being publicized there.
Maybe there's an additional question here about when you expand this capacity and presence, and with that you expand knowledge enormously about what is going on, particularly in environmental and social terms in these regions. To what extent does that actually also contribute or help to contribute to raise the awareness among companies based in those regions about precisely the kind of issues that we're talking about?
So Christian, if you look at our current client base and you see that most of our clients are Western-based banks and companies. And these, especially the banks, are very interested in what's going on, for example, in Asia Pacific. Now what we expect in the future is a much bigger demand from operating companies in Asia. So we believe this is much more driven in Asia by the companies, not so much by financial institutions from what we see here. For this reason also, interestingly, we in the Asian region, we prefer to talk about GRC, which is governance, risk, compliance, instead of ESG, which is environmental, social governance. So we believe, given the speed we have seen in the past, how things can actually be transformed in such regions, that in 5 years from now, we will have many more companies that are our clients.